Hey, I'm Dennis. Thanks for watching my video. Today, my son Connor and I are going to show you how to change the oil in a 2017 Ford Focus SE with a 2-liter engine. This procedure should be the same for a 2012 through a 2018 Focus with the 2-liter. So thanks for watching. Let's get started. Here's what you're going to need to do the oil change for this car. You can either jack your car up or put it up on ramps. We're going to put it up on ramps. I've got a set of these Rhino ramps. I'll leave a link in the description below on them also. They make it real easy for a car like this. It clears the air dam, no sweat, and gets it up high enough for an oil change. First thing you do is open the door. You have to release the hood. The hood latch is right there on the kick panel just inside the door. Pull it up like that. It rotates up. That'll release the hood. Just to the right side of the emblem, and there's a yellow lever in there that slides. It slides that way. You release that and then you can lift the hood up. And then you take the support rod, lift it up, stick in a hole. Now your hood's supported. Now you can work under the hood. So here's your oil filler tube. It'll tell you right here what kind of oil to use. This particular engine calls for SAE 5W20. Just take your cap off and set it off to the side and lift your dipstick out and just leave it. Now you're fine to get up under and start draining. Up underneath the front you have a dust shield. This is part of the bumper, and then behind it is kind of a fiberboard type, I don't know what they're made out of, it's some kind of composite. But you have to remove this dust cover to get to the filter and the drain plug. All the way around it, it's got these Torx head T30 size bolts, screws that go into plastic inserts. So you got to go around and take them out. If you're doing this by yourself, when you get these front ones out, it's going to droop down. It's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. And then you've got 3 more in the back. There's a total of 8 of these screws. Once they're all out, then you can just drop the shroud. And then slide it out of your way. Alright, so next we're going to drain the oil. You need your 15mm wrench for the drain plug. Alright, so the drain plug is right there. And you want to line your drain pan up under the plug, because the oil is going to come out, you know, obviously toward the rear of the car, so you want to be able to catch it when it comes out. So what you want to do is kind of push the plug in as you unscrew it with your hand, because that way it doesn't start leaking on you. You're already going to get a fistful of oil as it is, but if you kind of push it in as you unscrew it with your hand, you can feel when you get to the last thread, and then you can pull the plug out of the way real quick and not get any more oil in your hand than you have to. And now you're draining. So you just want to catch it in your oil pan. Don't drop your plug in there. And oil rag comes in handy here, so you can wipe off all that you got in your hand and wipe off your plug. Set it off to the side somewhere and film. But all right, so then when all your oil's done draining, you put your plug back in. And you know, everybody's got their personal preference. You can drain it till it's just barely dripping, or till it's a small hair size stream. That's kind of up to you. You're never going to get all the oil out, and that's why you have a filter. So you put that in and tighten it up. Kind of standard practice is to just snug it up, but I'll leave the torque spec in the description. If you want to torque it to factory specs, you can use a torque wrench and torque it to the exact spec that Ford recommends. The oil filter is right up at the front, which is very convenient. Because the filter is vertical, when you take it off, it's going to be full of oil right up to the top. So you want to kind of keep it vertical. You're going to have it positioned over your oil pan, but you still want to kind of keep it vertical until you can turn it to drain in your oil pan, because it will be full. So same thing, it turns counterclockwise to take it off. If it was put on correctly, you can take it off with your hand. If it was over torqued, you're going to need a filter wrench to get it off. And you can see like the oil will start draining. So you have to be careful not to drop it, because it's going to get real slick with all that oil. And if you're not real careful, it'll run down your elbow. There you go. So you'll see the rest of the oil will drain out. And then we'll usually let that drain out a little bit too, because you're going to get the rest of the old oil out of your engine. Okay. I'll leave a link in the description for oil filter also. We like to use K&N filters. They're high grade filters. They've also got the nut on the back of them to take them off if somebody over tightens it. This particular car and engine takes an HP-1002, but you know, of course, you can use the filter of your choice. You need to do two things. On your old filter, when it comes off, you need to make sure that this gasket came off with it, because sometimes these gaskets will stick to the block, and if they do, then your oil filter, your new oil filter, will not seal properly. You'll lose all your oil, and then you'll have a problem with your engine. So you always want to inspect your old oil filter when you take it off to make sure the gasket is still on it. Then you take your new filter, and what you're going to do is just dip your finger in either your new oil or your used oil and spread it on this gasket. Some people will say don't use used oil because it's already dirty, but this oil is not going to get in your engine, so it really doesn't matter what oil you use. The whole point for putting just a thin film of oil on this gasket is to keep the filter from seizing to the block.
Okay.
All right, so Connor's just going to dip his finger in the oil. Like I said, we use the used oil. Some people have a problem with that. It doesn't matter, but if your preference is to use your new oil, then go for it. All right, that's all you got to do. Then wipe your finger off, and you can put your filter on. Now we're going to put the filter on. It just spins on clockwise. What you do is you make sure it's not cross-threaded. It's fine thread, so it'll spin on easy. You turn it until you feel the gasket touch the block, and then you give it another quarter turn after that. That's as tight as you need to be. Some people over tighten them, and it makes them really hard to get off later. You're going to check it for leaks once you get done filling the oil up anyway, so you'll make sure, but that's generally as tight as you need to make an oil filter. It'll give you a good seal, and it won't make it so hard to get off when you change your oil the next time. This engine takes 4.4 quarts of oil, so most of your oil comes in a 5-quart jug. You're going to need a funnel because the filler tube is really pretty small. Small diameter, so it's going to be, you can do it without a funnel if you want, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's going to be hard to hit. Your jug of oil will have a right back here on the back, well, it depends on what type you get. We don't use anything but Valvoline. On the back of their jugs, they've got a window that you can see how much oil you're using. So what you do is basically you're gonna pour it and check it, see if you're pretty close, and once you get to where it looks like you're pretty close on your jug, then you're going to stop. Now that you're pretty sure you got most of your oil in there, I recommend two things. One is crank it up. You want to let it run for about 30 seconds or so your oil pressure comes up, and so that you fill the oil filter with oil. The other thing you want to do is you want to watch up underneath the engine where the drain plug and the filter are to make sure you don't have any leaks. Alright, so no leaks underneath. Now what we'll do is we'll let the oil drain back down into the oil pan so we can check the oil with the dipstick and make sure that we're full. You get done putting your oil in, put your cap back on, pull your dipstick, wipe it off, stick it back in there. Make sure you go all the way down to the seal, pull it back out, and then you've got, hopefully you can see that all right. There's a cross-hatched area in there, but you've also got two holes on the dipstick, and that's really what's important. You can use the cross-hatched area also, but essentially you want to be between those two holes. Completely full is all the way up to the top hole, and a quart low is down to the bottom hole. So, you know, ideally you're close to the full mark. And then when you check your oil between oil changes, you want to make sure that you stay between there. If it drops below the bottom hole, you want to add a little bit of oil to it. Make sure you seat the dipstick when you put it back in there. So now we're going to button that up and put the shroud back on. So when you put the shroud back on underneath the dust shroud, get all 8 of the screws started, but don't tighten them up because it's easy to get it turned sideways or cockeyed a little bit so that you can't get the last few in, whether you start it in the back, start in the front. Doesn't really matter where you start, but just get them all started and make sure that you have all 8 screws in before you start tightening them up. Putting this shroud on, you just do it in reverse. But what I do want to mention is these inserts that the Torx screws go into. What will happen is a lot of people will over tighten these screws and they'll strip out these plastic inserts. They're real cheap and they're available online. I'll leave a link below where you can buy them. We went around and replaced all of these, pull the old ones out, pop the new ones in, and everything's fine. When you put this shroud back on and tighten these screws up, you just want to get them snug, and then just a little bit, maybe 1/8 of a turn past snug. This plastic will strip out. The wide end goes to the front, and it's easier to put this on if you have some help, so you can get 3 or 4 of the screws started around to hold it up. Be sure to properly dispose of your oil. What we generally do is we pour our used oil into the jug that we just used, that we poured the oil out of, and I take a Sharpie and write on top of the oil jug used oil, and then when we get 2 or 3 of those, we take them to our local parts house and they recycle the oil. So the last thing you do is reset the oil monitor reminder, and to do that, what you do is you put the key in, you turn it to the on position, you hold the brake and the accelerator down to the floor for 3 seconds, and then you'll get a message on the message display telling you that the reset is in progress. So we're going to do that now. We turn the key on, you take the gas and the brake pedal to the floor for 3 seconds, and then it'll come up and say reset in progress. And it takes it about 30 seconds to reset. Now it's reset. Service oil reset complete. So now you can let off the brake and the gas and turn your key off, and you're done. Okay, well that's it. Thanks for watching the video. I hope it helps you out. Leave any questions that you've got in the comment section below. And if you would, check out my other videos, subscribe to my channel, give us a like on this one, and hope to see you back soon. Thank you and God bless.